My DMs have been absolutely blowing up with questions about phone flipping lately, and a lot of you guys actually seem to be running into the same problems. In today's video, I'm going to be going over the 3 most common issues that people seem to have when getting started reselling iPhones. Issue number 1. People will go on Facebook, do a quick search for phones, and then find no good deals in their area at that current time, and then come to the conclusion that phone flipping doesn't work where they're from. I can assure you that if people where you live use iPhones, then you could absolutely make this business work where you're from. What a lot of people don't realize when they try to get started with this is that the phones that are actually sitting on Marketplace are usually overpriced, and that's why they're still sitting on Marketplace. So the good deals and the phones that are profitable go pretty fast. So it's highly unlikely that the first time you go on Facebook, you're gonna find any deals that you can make profit on, which means if you wanna be getting good deals for phones, you're gonna need to be searching for phones extremely frequently. What I usually recommend for people is to be checking Marketplace or whatever platform you're using the same way that you would check Instagram or social media, which for most people is probably as much as 5, 10, even 20 times in a day. I know that sounds like a lot of work, but once you've done it a few times and you've created some saved searches, you can check if there's deals super quickly. It probably takes a couple minutes, which again is probably less time than you're spending when you check Instagram. So the next thing is typically that people are just setting a search radius that is just way too small. If you want to be seeing the most phones, you're just gonna wanna be setting the largest search radius possible. Obviously, the larger the search radius you set, the more phones you're gonna see total, and the more phones total you see, the more profitable phones you're going to see. As far as an exact radius, that's obviously going to be dependent on how far you're willing to drive, but obviously a larger radius is always going to be better. And if you are trying to find the most amount of phones, I would encourage you to make your search radius as large as possible, because this business probably won't work if you don't want to drive more than 10 minutes away for a phone. That being said, I can promise you that if you are willing to drive more than 10 minutes to buy a phone, and you are searching every single model 5 or 10 times a day, I can pretty much promise you, you're not going to have issues finding phones. All right, so the next most common issue that I see people running into is that they will go on Facebook Marketplace, they will message some people for phones, and then they can't get prices low enough to actually make a profit. Usually, a lot of the solutions to the first issue will actually solve this issue as well. Assuming you do have a large enough search radius and you're searching frequently enough, if you're still not getting good deals, usually it comes down to the fact that people aren't negotiating properly or making proper offers for the phones. Typically what I see people do is they will find a phone and then message the person with a whole bunch of questions about the condition of the phone, the battery health, whatever you probably should be asking about the phone. They'll just bombard them with those questions right off the bat, and then they will go ahead and send that person a lowball offer, which obviously is not going to result in you getting the phone or getting very many deals at all. My stance on negotiating and getting good deals for phones is that the only value you really have to offer when you're buying phones for less than market value or just buying good deals in general, only value you have to offer is that you are a simple and convenient sale. Meaning the way I structure my messages is by trying to position myself as the most simple and convenient option for that seller. What that typically looks like is that my first message is just super simple. All I want to do in that first message is let them know how much I can offer for the phone and that I could pick up the phone ASAP. That's it. You're more than welcome to ask any questions you have about the phone after they've already expressed interest in selling it to you. But if they listed a good deal and it's at a decent price, they're probably already getting a whole bunch of messages, so you're gonna stand out quite a bit if you're willing to make it a simple transaction for them. You're kind of setting yourself up for failure if you're just sending them a bunch of messages, because most sellers don't wanna deal with that. They're gonna pick the person who seems like the easiest transaction for them. And then with that, you also wanna be making sure that when you do make an offer, the offers you're making for phones are actually reasonable offers. Obviously, all markets are gonna vary and prices are gonna vary dependent on where you are, but the best way to do that is to reference recent sale prices on eBay. And then what I do is I try to offer whatever amount I need to be at to reach my target profit. Obviously, everyone's gonna have a different target profit they're going for, but a good rule of thumb is that $80 to $120 profit per phone is pretty standard, and you could get that pretty often. So I would say that's a good place to start for a lot of people who are just getting into it. And typically I find if you are messaging for those $80 to $120 profit phones, then you're going to be there when you see the $200-$300 profit phone as well. But aiming for that lower profit margin is going to make this a lot more sustainable for you, and you're probably going to get a lot more deals than if you're trying to make $200 profit on every single phone. So let's say you've done all of that, you've made yourself seem convenient, you've made a reasonable offer, and they still went ahead and said no. The first thing I want to do is, if you have any additional margin, you could obviously make a counter offer to wherever you're comfortable to be, to still make whatever your desired profit is. So let's say you do all of that, you've made a counter offer, and you still can't get them to agree on a price. The best thing you could do at that point is just keep your ego out of it. Don't let them know that you've gone phones for a better price before. You don't need to let them know that their phone's worth less. All I do is I send them a very simple message. I just let them know that if they change their mind, I can pick up anytime and make it a simple sale. Again, just trying to communicate that I will be a simple, easy option for them. You'd be surprised how often that actually makes them reach back out if they don't end up selling the phone. I'd say like 1 in 5 times they'll actually end up reaching back out and you'll get the phone. All right, so before we go ahead and get into the final issue that you guys seem to be running into, I did just quickly want to let you guys know that the inventory tracking sheet I released in my last video is going to be available completely free for download in the description below of this video. And for everyone who went ahead and purchased that sheet in the last video, good news, I've gone ahead and refunded all of you guys your money, and you should be getting an email shortly letting you know when your refund is going to be on its way. Honestly, I just didn't really need to make $80 off of you guys on a spreadsheet, and I want to see as many of you guys possible get value out of this sheet because one, this sheet is super sick, and it was also super expensive. So I want to get my money's worth on this and have as many of you guys using it as possible. Please go use that. It's sick. It will be available down in the description below. All right, on to the final issue. So this one is by far my least favorite message to get. It is when people message me and they say that they bought a phone, it's been sitting for a week or two, and it hasn't sold yet. This sucks to see, and it's my least favorite one to get because it usually means you overpaid for a phone and you're probably going to have to lose some money. Unfortunately, when something is sitting for more than 2 weeks, the solution is almost always to lower the price and then it will sell. Unfortunately, it probably means you just didn't gauge the market correctly when you bought the phone. In an ideal situation, all that means is you're just making a little bit less profit. Sometimes that can mean that you have to either lose money or break even on a phone. I know it sucks, but it is part of the business. And the sooner you get your money back, the better it is for you, and the sooner you can move forward and buy some profitable inventory. The thing I will say about this and how to prevent this moving forward is just to make sure you're being honest when you're looking at comparables, when you're pricing out phones. Don't want to be comparing a scratched up iPhone 12 price to a perfect condition iPhone 12 price on eBay, because obviously if you buy a super scratched iPhone 12, it's not going to sell for the same price that a perfect condition one would sell for. So you just want to go ahead and make sure you're being super honest. And when you're looking for recently sold listings on eBay, you want to make sure that you're finding ones that are in similar condition to the phone you're actually looking to go pick up. But unfortunately, in that circumstance, your best solution there is just going to be go ahead and lower the price and get your capital back as soon as possible. Unfortunately, that is part of the learning phase, and it may happen when you're first getting into it. But I can assure you, if you stick with it and you do some research before you buy phones and you keep doing it, that's gonna happen a lot less often. And eventually you'll be making profit on every single piece of inventory you buy. I'm sure I am missing a lot of other issues and problems you guys are running into when you're giving this a try. So I think I'm gonna make a follow-up video to this, and I'm gonna go ahead and make a Q&A in the near future. So if you guys have any other questions you want to know about phone flipping, feel free to go ahead and leave any other questions you have in the comment section down below, and I will do my best to make a Q&A video answering those questions within the next week or so. That being said, that will be all for today's video. If you enjoyed today's video and you want to see more videos just like it, feel free to go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below, and I will see you guys in the next video.